Hey, before we get into this episode, I did want to let you know it abruptly ends towards the end. We were having some issues and everything was kind of glitching out, so we stopped it. And so I just wanted to let you know that the ending is not my usual ending. It's not how I would like to do things. But I did want to just thank Lindsay so much for taking the time out of her day and sharing her story. I love how transparent and open and kind and warm Lindsay is. She has been a tremendous help to me over the past, goodness, 7, 8, maybe 9 months that I've known her. And she's impacted me more than she knows. We talk on a daily basis. And I'm so incredibly grateful that the Lord brought her into my life. And I seen her from across the room and I said, I need to go talk to her. So definitely tune in, listen to this episode. I think it's a really good one. It's a powerful one and I love to be able to give wonderful folks out there a platform to share their story to help inspire other people. So let's get into this episode. What's up, Scoop Podcast? I'm your host, Erica Krupin, and on today's episode, I have an incredibly special guest. I have Lindsay Hinesley on, and Lindsay, Lindsay, you have such a special place in my heart. We met at the huge convention. I seen you from across the room. It was like a movie. I'm like, I have to go talk to her. And I moseyed on over there. And lo and behold, you guys were embarking on the Poop Scoop community yourself. And since then, we have developed such a great relationship. We have bonded. You've helped me out tremendously. And you are a powerhouse female business owner, and you just have so much going on. So thank you and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Well, I I know a ton about you, but I want you to give the listeners what you think your highlight reel is, just to kind of get to know you a little bit.
All right. Serial entrepreneurism, that is what myself and my husband call each other. Are, uh, we have multiple businesses. So we've got about six going on right now. And I feel like we're always coming up with new ideas. Um, so we started this journey in the poop scooping in December. We actually launched our business, but we've been in the home service realm for about 5 years now, and just kind of dabbled in quite a few different things. We really enjoy building businesses and selling them. So that's actually what one of our other businesses is a company called Bright Factory, where we assemble businesses and we give them to an owner. So we sell them off. Um, so we do that when we can, and then we also do the poop scooping. We do marketing, branding. So Adam actually did your brand,
Did.
Erica. Um, and then we also have multiple Airbnbs and a long-term rental, and then a hot dog cart that just launched last week. So we're all over the place, but we enjoy it. We have a lot of fun with it, and it's really just seeing how we can build other people up around us.
Now, whew, that's whiplash. There's so much going on. You guys are doing such a good job. Uh, Now, do you come from like an entrepreneurial background?
Yeah, so my mom and my dad were both entrepreneurs. My dad had a commercial cleaning company. He worked with a lot of NASCAR teams cleaning their facilities. And then my mom had a residential cleaning company growing up. So I was constantly in that entrepreneurial spirit. I was answering the phones at like age 4 for them. So it's just kind of, it runs in the blood. And then Adam actually comes from it as well with his grandfather. So we've like together, we're unstoppable, I feel like.
And you guys are like a double-headed monster, but like in a good way. You guys are able to attack things because you guys have different skill sets, correct?
Yeah. So he's really big on like the art side. I'm a lot more on the admin side. So I take care of all the back end that no one really likes to do, but it's got to get done.
No, I agree. And so, do you feel like the fact that you two are together and partnering that allows for you guys to have like more growth and get things done quicker?
Absolutely, because we're doing the work of really like three people in one. So the amount that we can accomplish during the day, it can be super intimidating to anyone listening. But when you have that support partner that we call each other accountability partners, you soar so much easier when you're working together. You kind of get in your groove. You know how each other thinks and how the mind works. It allows us to really have a lot more production than a typical person, but it's not to be intimidating. It's just we're the power of two compared to one a lot of the times.
And it's super inspirational just to see how you guys move and how you guys are able to make things happen. Now, you guys are years into this process. Can you take us back to what did it look like in those beginning days when you were getting your first business off the ground?
It was rough. So we were initially, when we first started our first home service business, we were living in Mooresville, North Carolina. So right outside of the Charlotte area. I was working for Lowe's corporate. I was a commercial photographer. And then Adam was working at Home Depot corporate, doing data analysis and sales. So Adam had stumbled upon a company that provided training to get into the exterior cleaning realm. They provided equipment. So Adam came down and he went through training and then picked up the equipment and came back to North Carolina. And he was going to quit his job, and I was just going to continue working for Lowe's. And we were coming into a cold spell, and we didn't realize that the equipment that we had wasn't able to be in freezing temperatures. So we struggled. We went searching all around trying to find office space to park our equipment because we just purchased like $40,000 of equipment. We didn't want this stuff to. Ultimately, he decided, like, hey, I'm going to move to Florida for like 6 months. I'm just going to carpet bag it, and I'll come back. You just hang out here, you take care of the house, and we're going to figure this out. And I was like, ha ha ha, you're funny. No. um we are not like separating like that. I don't want to be by myself that long. So ultimately we decided to both quit our jobs and move to Florida. We moved to Sanford. It was where the headquarters of the company that we had gone through the training and everything with. And we lived first in an Airbnb, a 10 by 10 bedroom with a couple that had four Australian shepherds and a three-legged one-eyed cat. Um, it was an adventure. We lived there for 4 months before we were able to purchase an RV, and we lived in that for about 2.5 years. But in that time span, we came down to Florida with all the money that we had, and it wasn't much. And we ended up getting down to like the last $200 in our bank account. And that was a really, really scary time for anyone that's trying to make it happen. Like, you are relying on yourself. There's like, you don't have support from anything else. You have to make it work. We got out of that rut. We were able to move forward, and in our first year of business we were able to do $141,000, which at that time, like, that was huge. Like, we thought, oh my gosh, we made it.
Yep.
We continued working. The following year we doubled our sales, and that was 2020, when COVID happened and everything
Yep.
shut down. And luckily, we had the secret sauce. We had a sanitizing solution. We were using bleach, sodium hypochlorite, to clean roofs and exterior, and we were considered essential because we were able to actually sanitize things. So we actually got on with a contract with one of the biggest hospital systems in the Orlando area, Advent Health, and we were cleaning their facilities. So we were able to double that year, and then the following year we did the same. And at that point, we decided that we wanted to sell the business, and we were able to find a buyer. We sold it, and we had started a Wise Coatings floor epoxy floor coating franchise. So we were one of the first locations with that. That had its own trials and tribulations with just jumping through a lot of hurdles and being that business owner, that you doing the uncomfortable things that you don't want to do, having to deal with callbacks and failing floors. And it wasn't our fault. we had faulty product, and that was so disheartening because we had built ourselves up in this community. People knew us by name, and then we have a failing product that we were putting out, and there was nothing we could do about it. And that was heart wrenching as a company on something that you've built yourself up with. So fast forward to that, we ended up selling that back to our business partner, and we moved on. We kind of played hooky for the greater part of last year, and we decided to start Smart Scoops, the pet waste removal company, and then do a few other things. And it just from there, the trajectory has just been upward. And granted, we still have some ups and downs and some little road bumps, but it's been a really fun adventure, and it's a lot less stressful than a lot of the other companies that we've created.
Now, okay. Now, I just got one, I guess, a quick question. Going
Yeah.
back to when Adam's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go move to Florida. You hang out here," and in your mind, you're like, "No, I'm leaving too." Like, what? How are you feeling, and how were you thinking to just have that faith and be like, "Nope, I'm going all in." What was that mental process like?
It was terrifying. I had a very, very stable job, very cushy job. I was in a field that I loved, but I never felt satisfied.
Mm.
So it was a leap of faith because I trust my husband. I was like, you're not going to lead us into something that's going to make us go broke. I mean, we almost did, but I had faith. Like you can't always see it before you believe it. So it was definitely a leap. And looking back, like for the better part of like the first year we moved out, I was like, this was a mistake. This was a mistake. I want to go back. I don't want to be here. I'm away from family. Like we didn't have anyone down here. It was literally both of us in a 400 square foot RV at each other's throats.
Josh was
So
helping me get this podcast studio set up, and the sound of his breathing was really kind of getting to me for a minute. And I'm like, okay, I got to get this figured out because now we're newly working together on a more closer basis. So I kind of want to talk
so
about that too.
excited.
Thank you. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But earlier you said you were, you led by faith. You had faith in your husband, and at this time, I know that you are a follower of Jesus. At this time, where were you at in your religion and in your faith?
I was in a really, really dark place. It was drinking every day. It was smoking pot every day. It was trying to find the next thing to fill me, and it we were not healthy. We had a couple that had invited us to church initially, and we went. And I was raised in a Roman Catholic household where I don't know if you know much about Catholicism, but it's very regimented. Um, and I never really felt like I had a relationship with God until we found the church that we're at now. And I was able to learn that it was more about speaking with God. But at that time, when we first moved down here, we were anti-religion. We wanted nothing to do with it. And looking back on that now, I see what a dark place I was in. And had I had just like opened my eyes, things would have gone so much smoother because I would have had a foundation built on Christ rather than a foundation built on myself that wasn't steady and wasn't healthy. So we found the church that we're at now about 2.5, maybe 3 years ago, and our lives have just been transformed by it. So there's nothing that we can't handle now because I know that God's behind me with it, and he's got my back. um, I talk with him and work through what little trials and tribulations that we have, and I'm able to move forward and help other people in that same way too. When I see that someone's in kind of a dark place, I ask if I can pray for them because I know in that moment, like had someone asked if they could pray for me when I was in that really dark space, it could have absolutely transformed my life.
I agree. When I met you, I was in a pretty dark place as well. I had recently quit drinking. Like, I think we met in October. I quit drinking in March, so I was
August.
still August. We met in August, so it was still pretty new. And I was just I don't know what I was doing. I was just figuring it out. And we met, and just through like conversation, like we've prayed together. I've never prayed with a friend. I've never prayed with a friend ever and had somebody pray for me. And you were the first person that did that with me. And I was just absolutely blown away. And you have been a huge influence on um, my spiritual journey because I was like nervous. I was like scared. I'm like, I don't know anything about this. Like, I just don't get it. So thank you. You have been a huge
Yeah.
inspiration to me. And I know you're going to be a huge inspiration to a lot of other women that are kind of like lost and confused and scared to make the leap. So my next question is, if there's a woman that's listening to this and they're like, I just I don't I'm scared. I'm scared to leave a stable job, or I'm scared to do this. What's some advice that you would give to them to walk them through that process?
Pray on it and burn the bridges. That is something that my husband and I say all the time is you have to burn the bridge. If you know that you can fall back on it, you're not jumping in with faith. And it was always a thought in my mind of like, I can always go back. I can always go back. But I needed to burn that bridge because if I didn't, that would be my weak point. That would be my weak link of like, I know I can always go back, but you have to take that leap of faith. Um, yeah, praying on it, coming up with a business plan, budgeting, making sure you write down every number that you can possibly think of. Think of all of the like the road bumps that you might run into and plan for those. Don't necessarily think of it as a negative, like, oh, I've got to overcome this.
Yeah.
No, you need to think of it as a positive, as a learning experience. We don't learn if we don't make mistakes. And you're going to make mistakes, and it's okay. We're all human. We all make mistakes. But you just have to go boldly in with it and trust that God will walk you through everything. He feeds the birds outside. They're perfectly fat and
Yeah.
happy. He's going to feed you. Like you're going to be good too.
I honestly feel like things have changed, and my growth has been outrageously fast in the last, I don't even know, the last like 7 months since I started praying and I started like going to church. I started taking things more seriously, taking myself more seriously, just being a better person all around. I'm still very new, so I don't have my verbiage right here and I get a little nervous talking about um faith. But I'm telling you what, even my husband was like, "You're just a like all around a better person and have like a better aura about you." And I'm like, "Thank you," because I feel it. I feel it.
I've
So,
seen a huge transformation in you in the last, what, 7 months. Um, and I'm a new believer too. I don't have it all down, but I know the Holy Spirit leads me into to speaking the right words when I don't know what to say.
mhm,
Um, so just listening to that in the back of your head, and it's okay if you mix up words and like it's not a big deal. It's just what's in your heart and what's in your mind
yeah,
for helping other people.
and asking for help. And I've asked you for a lot of help over the past, of our relationship, because you know a lot of like behind the scenes stuff. Like you were saying earlier, you do a lot of like the data and the admin stuff. So let's talk about that side of the business, because that's not like the sexy part. That's the part that's like numbers, spreadsheets, calling people. I know that we'll transition over to the poop scooping company. You guys are building this up pretty quickly. So let's talk about that a little bit, and then we'll get into the unsexy part of what you do.
Sure. So with Smart Scoops, we had this thought. It was probably December of what's this year, 24. So December of 22. Adam had kind of thought this brand up, and I was like, I don't want a poop scooping company. Like he comes up with the most elaborate ideas all the time. Like anytime I look at him, I can see it in his eyes. Like he's thinking of another business. Can't we just like be still for a little bit? But he was like, no, we're like, I have this vision. I want this poop scooping company. It's a very lucrative and it's an easy business. Like teaching someone how to pick up poop compared to teaching someone how to clean a roof or how to clean cedar shake. Like it's so much simpler and you're on a subscription basis. So we were really interested in that. So he had come up with the brand of it and went through the trademarking process and everything. And it just kind of sat on the back burner because we're like, well, we don't want to do it. Like, we need to find a team to help us with it.
Hmm.
So, fast forward a little bit, we'll back up a little bit, I guess. We had an employee that was working with us with Champion at one point. His name is Leroy. And we saw a lot of potential with Leroy. And at the time when he was with Champion, he called us out of the blue one day because we were in like a little bit of a slow season. And he said that his girlfriend was making him find another job because it was like a week where we didn't have any work. We were kind of relaxing with it because we're like, we needed a breather. And then, like, the following week after he left, we ended up with this huge commercial contract. But we knew that it wasn't Leroy's choice to do that. He was struggling between, do I make my girlfriend happy that I have a child with, or do I keep pursuing something that I see is moving forward? Fast forward now, him and his friend Raul had come to us and said, like, hey, we really want to start a pressure washing company. Can you guys help us? Can you coach us and mentor us? And we had initially gone down that route with them. And then we realized, like, you guys, you throw a stone and you're going to hit a pressure washer anywhere in our area. Like, we are in the capital of exterior cleaning. If you guys really want to make a difference, like, we need to pivot. We need to look into a different avenue. So we're like, all right, we've got this business that we really want to get started. You're scooping poop. What do you think? And they were on board. So we took these two guys and we've been mentoring them for probably the greater part of 10 months now, um, until we were able to officially launch in December. Um, and our goal with this is to franchise it. So we are going through that process of trying to have proof of concept so that we can bring this to a private equity company so that they can help us with the franchising aspect and possibly do licensing before that step. So it's a much bigger picture than where we currently are. Like, we see where we're going. It's just a matter of, like, we need to take the steps to get there. So for anyone listening, like, the biggest advice is just take that baby steps. You can't eat an elephant in one bite. You got to take little bites, and you're going to be knocked down. You're going to be dragged around. You're going to sweat and cry and bleed and all that fun stuff. But, like, if you just take those baby steps to get there, it will pan out.
No, I
So,
agree. And so you've been able to take a lot of the stuff that you've learned from the other companies, kind of like rinse and repeat and build upon it, right? Um,
yes.
I th- you've really helped me because I'm telling you, working with local distributors and local people have been quite a challenge for me. I've been having some issues. And so you've been helping me with sourcing stuff from overseas, like some marketing material and going on like Fiverr and Alibaba. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you approach finding vendors that can do a good job?
When we first wanted to start looking, I'll do our yard signs, for example. I had gone out and done an RFP on Alibaba. So you can go
What's
on
an
and fill out the information for, like, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z, and I want you to quote it so I can see what the pricing is. Because as we both know, as much as I love to shop local,
Mhm.
sometimes local isn't always sustainable for my pocketbook. I've got to
Yeah.
look at my bottom dollar for things. And while you can get a great quality yard sign for $15 in the States, I can get the same quality, maybe a little bit less quality, from China for pennies on the dollar. So When I go and look, I'm looking number one for communication. When I put out that RFP, are they giving me what I want? Will they create samples? Do I have to pay for those samples? Will they ship that to me, or will they just take pictures and videos so I can see what it looks like? So I'm looking at those different aspects, mainly the communication part, because communication
Okay.
is huge. If you've got miscommunication, there's just going to be confusion. You're going to have angry people. And I like to make sure that I over communicate rather than under communicate. And I expect that with the contractors that we use too. So I interviewed via Alibaba probably 80 different people just for yard signs before I was able to come upon our contact. And I ran our contact through the ringer. I wanted to make sure that she was good, that she followed directions. She gave me exactly what I wanted with great pricing. And she hung with me the entire time and she was awesome. So finding those really niche people are really important. The same thing goes for like we had poop bag holders and like little poop bags created, as well as like communication bells. You know those like bells that you see on YouTube with the dogs that are like pressing a button and it talks.
Oh, yeah.
We ended up, yeah, we got those printed or created with like our own box and everything that we give away to our customers just as like an extra value. So we're constantly trying to think of new ideas on how we can provide more value to our clients. That's just one of them. But um, trying to find vendors that too can go to bat for you with their companies, that because they're not the end all be all. They have managers that they have to report to. So finding ones that'll actually go and fight for you, like, hey, they're willing to place an order for X amount of items. Can we give them a price break? What can we do with this? So we found another one that anytime I have like a one-off product or something unique that isn't just yard signs. I go through him and he'll either go to bat for me with his manager or he will find me someone that, and he will take care of all the communication. So I don't have 50 different people I'm going to. I've got one person. And I know I've compared the pricing with him compared to like if I went and got my own RFP, and his pricing comes in the same, if not a little bit better half the time. So I now have a trusted resource for all of my additional items that I want to purchase.
What does RFP stand for?
Request for proposal.
Ah, okay. Thank you. I'm like, I had no idea what that was. And it's nice because when you want to get your marketing material made, especially like in the beginning too, like it's expensive. I had to do it little by little by little because I didn't have all the money to get stuff. And so getting stuff cheaper. But I will say that shipping though, that shipping cost is a little bit high, but it offsets. It's still cheaper than what I was paying locally.
Yeah, because I always ask them, I need your pricing per item plus shipping. I want to know what the delivery cost is so I can calculate that in initially instead of at the end and I'm surprised with, oh, you now owe another $500. I need to know that information before. If you don't give it to me before, I'm moving on.
How do you negotiate? Can you negotiate with them?
You can if you order, obviously, the more quantity that you order, the lower the pricing that you can
Mhm.
get. You don't want to beat them up too much because they're hoping too that you do business with them again. A lot of the times for your first order, they will give you a more discounted price to get you in, and then they do end up raising it in the future. Um, the contacts that I have now know like no, that I want the price for every time because I have to budget for that. So just being upfront with them of like, what can you do? Can you do better than that? Can we include the shipping cost and like can you eat the shipping cost? Being nice about it though, because if you're coming across of it as a bully, they're not going to want to work with you as much or work as hard for you. But the more items that you purchase, the larger quantities can get you those larger price breaks.
Now you come across you're very confident. You know how to get things done, but you still have it comes off respectful. Have you always been that way or is this a trait that you've had to kind of like craft as you've grown as a business owner?
I have absolutely had to craft that. I feel like being a business owner, you have to put on this Halloween mask of like
Mhm.
happy go lucky. Um, it is not something that comes easily, and you have to work towards it. Because like I'm secretly a hothead. When I get angry or when I get irritated, like I'm spitting off. And luckily, like my husband, he knows how to deal with me. But with normal people, like I have to watch myself a lot of the times too, because I'll start getting heated. My blood pressure starts to go up, like my heart rate starts going, and I start getting irritated. And I just have to take a breath, calm down. So it is something that is learned, and it's not something that comes easy to a lot of people. It doesn't come easy to me. I have to work for it. But just trying to remember that you attract a lot more with honey than you do with vinegar.
Mhm.
That was I'll tell you a brief story. So Spectrum, or like your internet service, when
Oh,
you
yeah.
call them, you're irritated. Like my internet's not working. This is the end of the world. Like I've got to get stuff done. And normally I was raised that like if you want to get something done, you've got to make a stink about it. It's not the right mentality. I learned that at a later age, but looking at my past and on how I would normally act, I decided to flip the switch. And I was super nice. I was super calm and appreciative. And they were able to jump through hoops for me. Whereas if I would have been like sour and like be a Karen about it, it wouldn't have ended the way that I needed it to end. So just that was like that aha moment for me when I decided to flip that script on like from what I was raised to do compared to now. So be nice to people.
Okay, how do you balance the be nice to people but still being direct? Because I know a lot of women, they struggle with self-confidence and don't want to be categorized as a bitch because that's what we get put in. We get put into that category when we're, assertive and we hold our ground. Can we talk about that a little bit?
That is one I'm still trying to figure out, because I what's nice, I have my accountability partner that I run just about everything through, because in my mind I'm almost kind of tone deaf with how I speak sometimes, and I don't realize how I speak. So I have to be checked. My husband checks me all the time, and it's good because I can then see how I'm coming across to other people. It Without my accountability partner, that would be really really tough to do, because I will come across as a B a lot. And it's not that I mean to. It's just you catch me in a thought process, and I gotta make things happen. So we've been working on um, the how versus the what. How I'm saying things versus what I'm trying to get to come across. So I found that when I take a little bit to think about what I'm going to say, and I analyze that before I just speak, I have a tendency to just speak, speak, speak rather than really process. So the more that you can just kind of process things, the more that you can think about what you want to say and how you need to say it so that you don't come across as a bee. That's really, really hard for women though,
Yeah.
because my husband can say the exact same thing and he doesn't come across as that. But the second that I say it, it's like, no, like you can't, you're not being nice. So it's like
Mhm.
it is a delicate line. I'm still trying to figure that one out. um yeah. If there was a secret potion or a magic, like something that you could do, man, somebody needs to patent that.
It just goes to show that you don't have to have everything figured out to be successful in business and to make moves, because I think a lot of women think we're planners. A lot of us, we have to have all the t's crossed and the i's dotted and all of this figured out to just get started, and you don't have to. And so it just really goes to show that it's all a process and it's all a journey. And I love that you have your accountability partner, which is Adam. So let's kind of switch gears over to being in business with your partner. Let's talk about some pros and then let's talk about some cons about the situation. Let's start with the pros first. I always like to
Yeah.
lead with sweetness.
So pros, you get to be with your loved one 24/7. Um, Adam and I have one vehicle, so we go everywhere together. Like besides right now, he's out with the dog somewhere, but we do spend a lot of time together. And one of the pros too is like we're a two-headed beast. I don't even want to call us a beast. Like we just have two heads, and two heads are better than one a lot of the time, so you can get a lot more stuff done. You can bounce ideas off of each other, and if an idea is great, that's great. If it sucks, like you have to be able to speak up to your partner and tell them like that's not a good idea. Um so trying to think of other pros. Like I really enjoy working with my husband. Going back to working a 9 to 5 has no interest for me. So having that flexibility that we can work together, we can take the time off together, or like
Hmm.
we're there with each other a lot. Like our love is strong. That's not to say we don't have road bumps though. Um, pros to I mean, you only have to have one car technically. Save a
Yeah.
lot of money.
Especially if you guys are together a lot and from the outside listening to you guys, I love that you guys can bounce ideas off of each other. I love that you guys can give each other constructive criticism and you guys take the time to work through those moments, because I've talked to you guys a lot, and so I've taken that kind of stuff back to my marriage, because I'm a hothead as well. What else? I love that, like you said, you get to take time off together when you're like, "Oh, we're just gonna go to Disney for half a day." Like in my mind, that blows my mind. I'm like, "What? That's
Yeah,
awesome."
yeah, Disney passes have been awesome this year.
Yeah.
We invested in that because it's honestly a creative outlet for both of us. With Adam being in brand design, it sparks a lot of creativity for him, so that's been really neat. But yeah, we're able to take just sporadic, like, hey, let's go do something together. Like I don't have to go ask a boss
Yep.
to do it. I'm gonna let my team know, but I don't have to report to anybody with that, which is really, really beneficial. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of some other pros.
No, there's
um,
a ton of pros, and also like I don't like with the cons. I don't want to talk about cons. I just kind of want to talk about like, I mean, selfishly, because Josh, you guys, my husband quit his job last week and he started tree service. So now we're like in business together. And so selfishly, I want to know what should somebody know going into business with their partner to keep things, how to stay married. That's the question. Little things.
just having communication with each other, talking with each other, even if the other has a problem with it. I'm still learning how to get better with this. Um, really just conflict is unmet expectations. So
Oh,
setting expectations with one another, creating a schedule, creating to-do lists really help us with, if he needs me to do something, he'll write it on my dry erase board, or if I need him to do something, like he can write it on his. I also make my lists of things that I need to do so I can like check them off directly in front of me, whereas my whiteboard is like up here. Um, knowing what the strong suits of your spouse or your business partner is, so you can watch out for their weaknesses. And knowing, um, are you familiar with disc personality tests? I think we've spoken a little bit on this before.
we've gone over it and Josh has tested, but I don't think he did it right. I don't think he did it right.
It's pretty hard to game it, but for the listeners, DISC is a personality test that essentially puts you into one of four categories. For D is dominance, I is inspirational, S is like your steady eddies, and C's are very calculated. So you can be all of these. Every one of us is a percentage of all of these, but it's just a matter of like what your percentage is, where your strong suits are, and where again your weaknesses are. And I feel like DISC has been the one thing that really helps me understand why I do what I do and why my husband does what he does.
Mhm.
I am an SC personality, so I'm very steady. I like stability and I'm calculated. So DISC, when you break that up, D's and I's are very, they're people persons, whereas C's and S's tend to be a lot more like extra or introverted. So extroverts, introverts. My husband is a D, or no, last time I think he was a DIC. So D is very dominant, I is inspirational, and then C is extremely calculated. He is really, really high on his C though. So he is extremely calculated and likes logic, whereas my S personality is very much more on emotion. So I'm much more emotional compared to logical a lot of the time. So knowing that allows us to understand when I have a conflict, where my conflict is, and why I'm feeling that. Whereas when Adam has a conflict, he needs to know the logical reasons why.
Okay.
So that disc really plays a really big part in just knowing your spouse and allowing you guys to work together. So, does that kind of answer that question?
No, that does. I'm gonna go ahead. We'll provide a link down in the description for any of those that want to take it. Um, because when we talked about that, and I, went through it, I seen some stuff, and I didn't get into it like you guys did. Like I was really into it for a minute, and then life got busy. But I do kind of resort back to that because that was a struggle with us was the communication because Josh and I used to fight. Like we used to fight and bicker. And there was a point where I didn't think our relationship was going to work. And eventually we both were just so exhausted. We're like, we just can't do this anymore. And we really made the switch. And so now going into like business together again, I'm a little nervous because I'm like, okay, we don't want to go through that again. We want to be better to each other. Because I've seen a lot of people go into business together and they just it doesn't work out and they hate each other and they're nasty and I don't want that type of marriage. And I know the listeners don't want that either if they're deciding to go into business with their partner.
It's all about the communication and really disc I feel like is the end all be all for us. There are plenty of other personality tests out there, but disc is it's simple and it really allows you to navigate the whys of why we're thinking and why we do what we do. It very clearly lays that picture out. It's pretty easy. If you, I'm sure there's like YouTube uh, videos on it that explain it a little bit better and a little bit more in depth. But I strongly recommend utilizing DISC for your marriage, and then we use it for hiring all of our employees. So before you even come in for an interview, we make our applicants take a DISC test, and they have to send us the results because putting the wrong person in the wrong seat is only going to hurt you and your business. And there's certain personalities that are great at picking up poop, whereas there's others that should not have a pooper scooper title in their nope, don't do it because they're not the right personality type. And it's nothing against them. There's so like for scoopers, we like to hire um SCs or CSs because they're very people or like they're very caring. Whereas an ID personality, that's going to be awesome for your sales because they're driven and they're inspirational, and they have a way with words a lot of the times. So knowing what types of people to hire for what positions is really going to help, not only with making your business soar, but also making it copacetic within the office space.
No, thank you for letting us know the personality type for a scooper. Because I hired a what was it, a CI, I believe, and you guys clocked it immediately of what was going to happen. I'm like, I'm just going to give him a chance, and he was very apologetic. Um, he wanted to do well, but couldn't keep the focus, and it was that that eye that just wasn't able to focus. And I'm also an eye, so I understand the struggles. And so learning that and trying to learn the different personalities and be intentional, because business and relationships, you need to be intentional to have them be successful. I'm learning that.
Yeah, it all comes down to disc, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, as a female business owner, have you encountered any specific like biases where you just aren't being treated with respect like you should because you're a female?
Yeah, I so right now I answer the phones for Smart Scoops, because we're still in our infancy stage until we're able to get someone else in. And a lot of the times when people call, they hear a woman on the phone, and I'm friendly on the phone. Like, I put on my actor face, and I'm friendly and bubbly, and um, when I say, like, every now and then it'll come up like, yeah, I'm actually one of the owners, and it's you kind of get like, oh, it throws people off guard sometimes. I don't take it personally. Like, I'm used to it by now, but a lot of the times too, people they will write you off. Like, they don't respect you until you let them know, and then I've been in such a male dominated industry for the last 5 years that I've had to just kind of pull myself up from my bootstraps and make my own name for myself in the community and with the the home services field. That it's just a matter of, like, you just have to be present for yourself. Like, I don't, if someone's going to throw bias at me, like, have at it. But I know at the end of the day, like, I'm probably happier and enjoying my life a little bit more than ever.
Yeah. Now, do you think with being a female that you have some pros along with the cons?
Yeah, yeah. Being able to meet other female business owners has been really impactful. You, for instance, like, you and I clicked, and we've been able to just soar together, which has been really awesome. I've got another girlfriend up in Charlotte, North Carolina, that I've known since before we moved down here, and she's also a business owner. She owns a very successful moving company up there. So being able to network with other females and, like, have our own little girl tribe, I feel
Yeah.
like is really impactful. I wouldn't change it. Like, if I could, like, change who I am, I wouldn't be a guy just to be successful in any industry. No, I feel like I'm able to prove it to myself, and that's all that I need. Like, I enjoy it. Um Being able to inspire other females too has been really, really awesome. I've really enjoyed being able to see other people grow and growing together, and being able to help each other with tough questions that we might not be able to go to a man about, and, like, how do I deal with this and how do I deal with that? It's just, I don't know. I love it.
Yeah, because guys just they face different challenges. And so honestly, that was the biggest reason why I started this whole platform, is because when I started my business, there wasn't a lot of females poop scooping that I knew of because I couldn't find them on the internet. Everything was very male dominated. So I was like, okay, let's post some content. And then I was also thinking, like, how am I going to stand out in like a male dominated industry? Pink. We're gonna go with pink. So I made everything pink. And I think that's been really beneficial, that like feminine touch, and it stands out from the crowd. So I think like any women that are listening that's like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I've got the personality or if I'm strong enough. You can do it. You just have to think
Stupid.
about it. Yeah, be intentional and make it happen. I did have a
Just
question.
having a plan.
Yeah, have fun. You do a lot of traveling. Like you go to conferences by yourself. You've done that. Can you talk a little bit about having the confidence to one, fly by yourself and then just start mingling with people?
That is a tough one. So I went to San Diego last week, and on the way there, like I enjoy flying. I If I could fly, I will. Like I would rather fly than drive. Um and I don't know. I enjoy like going to the airport. I always get really nervous when like I'm on the way there, but as soon as I get there, like I'm calmed down a little bit. Luckily with like the credit cards that we have, we've got access to the airport lounges, which helps just kind of calm your nerves before you get on the plane. And getting there, like I don't know, exploring. I don't even really explore that much. I still trip myself up with stuff. I'm not gonna lie. Um, when I went out to San Diego, I was nervous because I was around people that I've been around before. But you always have that thing in the back of your head, like, what if I'm not accepted?
Mm,
What if like I can be kind of socially awkward sometimes in like in real life? We were talking about the other day, like I like my internet friends.
yep.
But like
Yep.
when you have to go out and like exert yourself, my battery drains quick. So I had traveled all night. I slept in the airport. I had left Orlando at what, like 8 o'clock at night, and had a layover in Boston. So I was sleeping in the airport for like 6 hours, and then got to San Diego in like 10 a.m. in the morning over there. So my timing is all messed up.
Hmm.
I'm emotional for zero reason. And I call my husband and I'm in tears. I'm like, Adam, like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. And it was just the devil trying to get in my way and trying to damper my spirits. That's all it was. Because once I got out, we had like a social hour, and I started to introduce myself to people that like we've run in the same circles, but we've never officially been introduced. And the opening and welcoming arms of people, like I don't know. In my head, I've always got this like picture that people are going to be mean and not be welcoming. And that's like, it's such a stupid like thought process to have. And I know it's not real. It's just my conscience trying to like do weird things. Um, so just having the confidence to go and introduce yourself, speak about what you do, and you will quickly like make friends. And if you don't, like, it's okay. It's okay to even just ride solo and just do your own thing. Have your phone available with you. That was my crutch. Like, if I'm like having an awkward silence or an awkward pause or something, I'll just look at my phone. I'll voice message my husband. And having someone that you can just talk to that's not there, it's okay too. Um, but just putting yourself out there and trying to make friends, people once you're out of high school, like we all know, it's difficult to make friends, but you just got
Yeah.
to put yourself out there to at least just give it a try.
Do you have an
So
icebreaker
traveling is
question
interesting.
by any chance? Like an icebreaker question? So you go and you introduce yourself instead of asking or talking about the weather. Do you have like something in your pocket that you use?
I don't, but I've been reading different ones of like what you should ask people. Of I think one of them the other day I read was, how did you get into your field? Instead of, well, what do you do or what job do you have? How did you get into your field? How did you discover your field? Something along those lines, because it gets people back to how things started and where they came from,
Yeah.
rather than just like, what do you do now? I feel like I hate that question. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, I went to this event that I was invited to because I'm in a new area and I walked in. I was underdressed. I got very intimidated. I got afraid to talk to anybody. And it reeked of alcohol. So I left and I feel very defeated. And I'm going to make it a personal mission of mine to figure out questions to ask people and to not be as awkward because I've been spending a lot of time alone in my podcast bedroom studio. Um, and so that tip of what was it? How did you get into your field? That's so good. Ah, goodness. Goodness. That was a really, really good episode. I'm really bummed that it had to end so abruptly. I feel like we had so much more that we could have talked about. I will definitely try to get Lindsay back on as she's a fan favorite of mine, and hopefully now she is of yours. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. And until next time, bye.